All right, welcome back to the channel. We've got a Tesla earnings video. We're going to go over a lot in this video. I also plan on making another Tesla video over the weekend when I have some more information and do a deeper dive. But this is going to be the initial reaction to the Tesla earnings. Yesterday was a big day, and today was a big day also. So, real quick, Tesla reported $25 billion. It was a slight miss on their revenue. Their earnings per share did beat at 72 cents. Estimated was 59 cents. And the stock is up 22% today, the largest day in a decade for Tesla. So, congratulations to all the shareholders out there. What's funny is we're just back to where we were. What is this? September 30th. But it's just pretty crazy move. Again, this is the market kind of realizing something is up here. And we're going to get into the nitty and gritty of the numbers. But I thought we should start here at this stock chart. Pretty unbelievable day. So it's a good day. It'll be a fun weekend. So let's go ahead. Let's go over my notes, and then we'll look at the shareholder deck. And then in my other video, I'll probably have a little bit more visual graphics to kind of tie things together, but they're not quite ready yet. But let's go over the positive. So record vehicle deliveries and production for Q3, which is great. The strong cash flow of $6.3 billion in operating cash and almost $3 billion in free cash flow. This is, I think, the big number that the market is really surprised about because Tesla's been hit with a lot of headwinds, similar to a company like Enphase with interest rates. Cars are a finance product. You have to finance, so the higher interest rates were, the harder it would be for the consumer to pay that monthly payment. And Tesla's been offering a lot of finance help to the buyers, 0% interest rates. They've been cutting the price of their vehicles drastically. And despite all of that, they were somehow able to increase their free cash flow this quarter. So pretty unbelievable. The energy business, record gross margin of 30%, which is great. Cybertruck is the third most popular EV in America, and it is beating expectations based on production and also demand. So that's good to see. However you feel about the Cybertruck, you either love it or hate it, people are buying them. And Tesla makes money on their Cybertrucks, which is, again, to me, that's a huge shock. I thought they would be losing money on the Cybertrucks for at least a year, but they're already adding to the bottom line, which is pretty incredible. Full self-driving mileage is over 2 billion miles driven, however you pronounce that. So 2 billion miles of full self-driving data has been accumulated. The Megapack and Powerwall hits a record high, and the outlook looks really good for energy as well. And again, energy is at a 30% margin, so that's really good to see. Continued cost reductions, especially per unit vehicle. So again, manufacturing. We've talked about this for a long time. They're a manufacturing marvel. They're unbelievably efficient when it comes to the ability to manufacture, and over time their cost continues to go down. And also, the AI training capacity is up 75%, boosting the full self-driving capabilities. So this was one thing that Elon talked about a while ago, is they couldn't get their hands on enough NVIDIA chips. Now they have all the compute that they need, and they're able to use that compute to get more information out of the 2 billion miles driven. So this is also interesting because this isn't free, right? They had to spend a ton of money to get these data centers up and running to be able to compute all the full self-driving data. So to me, that's another kind of head scratcher, where it's how are they able to spend all this money and still increase their free cash flow? So they're just firing on all cylinders here. Tesla has done a ton of layoffs. They got rid of basically their whole supercharging division. And as we'll see later, the supercharger network is continued to grow. So they're doing more with less, and that's the story of Elon, which is just, you're seeing it here in these numbers, and I think the market is really taking a step back and saying, oh boy, this thing's about to really hit economies of scale and really do some big things. So the negative here, the gross margin did face a little bit of pressure because of the reduced price. So the cost of the vehicles has gone down. So each vehicle they're making a little bit less, but they're selling more vehicles. So that's good things. The macroeconomic headwinds, these are not new things. Capital expenditures has increased to $3.5 billion, but they're investing into the future. And they have plenty of cash, and they're obviously increasing their profitability, so they're able to do that. When you look at other automotive companies, they are just saddled with debt, and it's a liability, and they're just so weighed down with debt. And that's what's so interesting here is Tesla is able to do what they do when it comes to auto, but also have the ability to invest in all these different, robots, energy, solar, all these different areas, full self-driving, and spend all over the place from the money that they're bringing in on the cars. So it's just really awesome to see. This is a great quarter. I give this an A, maybe an A plus, because it was kind of a surprise, and we weren't the expectations were really low, and they just knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. So let's see here. Average selling price of the Model S, X, and Y declined due to pricing pressures. So I mean these are the negatives. These really aren't that bad, and we've known these. So there was no big negative surprise when it comes to this quarter. Inventory increased year over year. You're making more cars, inventory's up. The one thing I will say that is interesting, and I'm hearing people, mainly Tesla owners, is people are very concerned about the resale value, because it was a thing for a long time where you'd buy a Tesla and its value would hold up really, really well. And that was because of the scarcity of the vehicle. Now there's no scarcity when it comes to these vehicles. They are the most popular selling vehicle in the world is a Model Y. They're pumping these things out like crazy. So when you buy a car, the depreciation is pretty high and it's pretty quick, because the newer versions are coming out much quicker versus there used to be a line to buy Teslas. You used to have to wait a long time to get a Tesla. Now anybody can get it at any second. So that is hurting the resale value, and that is hurting a little bit of people's confidence. But we'll see how that continues to move forward, because I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. You could say a similar thing with an iPhone, where you buy the iPhone 15 and the next thing you know, the 16's out, and then is all of a sudden the 15 worth half the price. I think over time the iPhones have been able to hold their value because everybody wants an iPhone. So I think we'll see something like that similar here when it comes to Tesla. It just may take a little bit more time. Let me zoom out so we can see this. So here is the visual. Again, auto sales, $18 billion this quarter. You had about $1 billion in regulatory credits. That is up 33% year over year. The energy is up 52% year over year for this quarter, and the services up 29%. So that's really good to see, for a total net profit of $2.2 billion. Total revenue 25.2, up 8% year over year. So again, really good stuff here. And I think we're going to continue to see the energy and the services continue to grow as long as this continues to grow. Now, they did guide for 30% automotive growth next year. They were saying next year we expect to have up to 30% more vehicles delivered, which would be pretty unreal. Because you can see here the auto sales is only up 1% year over year. So if they can all of a sudden hit another growth spurt when it comes to autos, all this stuff is going to continue to grow as well. And then your bottom line will continue to grow. So this is all old stuff. We'll get these updated here over the weekend, and I will do another update when it comes to that. But let's go ahead and look at the shareholder deck. I haven't scrolled through all these slides, so we're going to do this together. Let's see, we talked a lot about these numbers. When we look at the financial summary, some of the big things that stick out to me are going to be the operating margin. We've been declining. I made my cursor nice and large, so hopefully you can follow along with what I'm looking at here. Operating margin, was 5.5, then 6.3, and then a big jump to 10.8. So that's great to see that the margin is coming back, because again, the whole story of the last year and a half is cutting the price of the vehicles so we can move more product, because interest rates were staying high and it was harder for the consumer to buy the product. So let's help get them get the vehicles moving, and to do that we're gonna have to lower the price. So now through efficiency, they've been able to get some of their margin back, and not just not just efficiency. The other parts of the business are helping out, like energy and services. So that's really awesome to see. Hopefully we can keep seeing a little bit more growth in each quarter when it comes to the operating margin. And again, down here, the free cash flow, we had a negative quarter at the beginning of the year of cash flow, and then we are moving back in the right direction here. So that is awesome to see. Let's see here. When you look at the deliveries, total production of vehicles, 469. And then total deliveries 462. So that is great to see as well. That is up 6% year over year on the total deliveries. And then down here, when you look at the supercharger stations at the bottom, that has increased 20% year over year. Now, remember, as I mentioned earlier, they did cut basically that whole staff, the division of the supercharger network, and they weren't expanding their stations. They were or adding new stations. They slowed that down, and they focus on building out their current stations. But it looks like they have also added some more stations, so that's great to see. When we look here, this is China's still the big dog when it comes to manufacturing. Produced its 3 millionth vehicle in October in Shanghai. That's pretty unbelievable. And this is pretty interesting to see here. So this is the growth of the supercharger network, and you can see in March of 2020 we had a sharp increase, this V12 miles, and this is only going to keep rising up. I don't know what's going on. They didn't talk about it in the earnings call. But I hopped in my car the other day. I hopped in my Tesla, and it said, "Would you like to use full self-driving?" And so I said, "Of course, I would like to." I don't pay for full self-driving, but it looks like they may have given me another beta, or maybe they're charging me on the sneak. I don't know. So I haven't looked at my bank statements yet, but I have been having full self-driving for the past week, and it gets better and better every time I get an update. And they are rolling out some other features like the Smart Summon and the Vanish, where you can say, "Hey, I'm walking out of the movie theater, pick me up at the front," or you could say, "Hey, I'm getting out of the car and in the front of the movie theater, go find a parking spot." So things like that are coming, and that'll be interesting. Again, this is a little bit of the energy services. This is the profit on the top, and this is the storage deployment. So unreal, this growth that we've had so far the second half of this year. Let's look at some of the photos. Wow, so China is just really adopting the EV market. The rest of the world a little bit slower. So we'll see what happens here. Emissions, there's the robo-taxi. Did a whole video on the robo-taxi. The van is something else. They did also talk about how it's going to be wireless charging for the robo-taxi. So it's going to be, the robo-taxi will pull up to this thing and just roll right over it. And they did mention it was going to be about 95% efficiency, because that was some of the concern, is how much energy is going to be lost in wireless charging of a vehicle. And they said it's going to be pretty damn good. So this is all stuff down the road. But again, the story with Tesla is, there's all these things to come, and you can price in some of that. But at the end of the day, it's a car company, it's an energy company right now, and they are really doing a good job with that part of the business. All this other stuff is going to be the cherry on the top. It will make a big difference down the road, the Optimus, the robo-taxi, all those things, but those are down the road. I can't quite price those things in right now. It is stuff to look forward to, and it's something that I'm obviously watching, but the story still here is the EVs, and they are doing a phenomenal job with that. So we're talking more about that this all, we'll talk more down the road, but it is interesting to see. I think the robot is closer than people think to becoming a reality. I use AI multiple times a day, and I'm blown away at the speed of adoption and the speed of which things are just improving there. And I also see it with my car. That is a robot. It drives itself. That's pretty unreal, and it's pretty unreal at how fast it's improving. We talked about the hand. 7th million vehicle. Pretty unbelievable, the growth of this company. The Powerwall 3, they're huge, and they store a ton of energy, so that's good to see. I think this is Nevada. This is the semi factory in Nevada, just outside of Reno. Might be a good place to buy some property. Let's see here. This is the net income. So remember, we talked a while ago where this was a bad quarter in quarter one, and this was not good. And it was great to see them kind of right the ship and bounce right out of this hole, because this was looking sketchy, because it looked like there was a possibility, especially with all the macroeconomic stuff going on with interest rates and the economy at this time. Looked like maybe they could continue to go in that direction, but they instantly made a lot of changes, and look at that. They've just instantly reaccelerated out of that hole. Again, you got to give them a ton of credit for this. And the vehicle deliveries here, I mean, a little bit of dip in that quarter one and able to instantly accelerate out of that. So I think it's an understatement here to say how well of a job they were doing, because this last quarter in Q2, you could have said, well, it's all the incentives, it's all the smoke and mirrors that Tesla does, blah, 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 and then they back it up with this quarter. You can't, what can you say? They're operating at such a high clip. You can't say anything else. Free cash flow going back up, net income, all good stuff here. Financial statements, don't need to look at this. The one thing that I will mention is their cash position is in really good shape. So they have about 30 billion in cash and not a lot of debt. So especially with the pause of the Mexico facility, they're in good shape. So they paused the build out of the Mexican plant. So they'll need some cash if they look to resume that. But for right now, they've got 3 or 4 really highly functioning plants, and there's no need to really extend and add another supercharger, or to build another plant. They still have to finish Texas. They've got Fremont in California. They still got to finish Nevada, and they are doubling the size in Shanghai. So they're doing just fine there. So that's my raw initial thoughts. Great day today. I will look to do another video at the end of the weekend. I'm going to take some time to digest some more information. I'm going to listen to some of the analysts talk, and I'll have some better graphics to show up to kind of show a little bit more on the quarter. So stay tuned for that video. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you have Tesla, enjoy this. This is a great quarter. I'm hoping that we can eventually break out of this trend. Let's zoom out a little bit, because we've talked about it. We just keep getting to the upper end of this channel and rejecting. But when we zoom out even further, I'm pretty constructive on this. I am pretty pleased here. Now, we may see a nice sell-off, but I think we break out of this and get back in the 300s in the near term, is what I'm hoping. So hopefully that was it for the red quarters. We had 4 red quarters in a row, and now we have a green quarter. Hopefully we are back on track, and we can get this thing moving back up again over 300. So that's all I got for this video. Congratulations, everybody, and great quarter. That's all I got. Peace out.